Hey everybody, it's David R. Becker here, and I just got done with two paintings already. We're doing a workshop for the Red River Watercolor Society, and we're gonna do this is this is the third painting tonight that I'm doing, or actually demonstration or a paint along basically. And so tonight we're going to be doing a different kind of paint along where I'm going to show you how to change the picture a little bit to make it better, and also seeing that it's more of a stage and we want to make it look more like a painting with the center of interest, be a little bit more interesting. So we're going to go first off to all you newcomers a supply list to show you what we're using tonight. Tonight we're using these colors on my palette. We do have the brushes that I sell on my website. And again, to my website here is, I put this up there so you can always go back once it's, this video will stay up forever, and so you just can go back to that. And so here's my website really quickly, and down here is what we're going to be painting every week. And the weeks before, 2 weeks past, are still up there, so that if you didn't get a chance to do them, you can come back here. And also look on my YouTube channel, and to go at that, you can just click over here on YouTube. That little link right there is to my YouTube channel. Alright, and so we're going to go right to the value study, and just to show you what I'm talking about. So here's what we're dealing with today. Today we're dealing with a scene, like this is the scene right here, the black and white. I made it black and white to show you the values. I kind of upped the values a little bit of darker, and so what I'm going to do is I'm not going to make them quite that dark, but I wanted to show you what the values between the lights and the darks are. But here's the scene without anything, and it's kind of like a stage. We do a lot of paintings like that where we're looking. I've seen a lot of students bring me pictures, and I look at them and I'm like, yeah, that's a nice scene, but it would be nicer if we could have it so that it has been a little bit more of a center of interest, something that's a little bit more interesting than the doors and shadows on there, which, I mean, it could be done. Don't get me wrong, it's okay to do it like that. But I'm just going to add a person. I'm going to add the guy, like in this corner, lower right corner. I'm going to add the guy. And I will put, I think I'm going to put a little plant in right here. A little plant right there on the side too. Just to give it, I don't know, just a little bit more interest. It seems empty. It's almost like it's you know, that for me, if I paint it like this, it looked more like this is a, you know, it's like saying that this city is really empty, or it can be done. Like I said, it can be done. But I'm just going to add this person into it, and I added them with Photoshop, and I also added here a table in the back. I'm not going to put the tables in, excuse me, but we're gonna see what we can do with this. All right, and so let me see who's here tonight. And I know a lot of you that were in my class today. We had about 20 students in my class today, and it's going to go on for Friday and Saturday this week. And it's been kind of fun. It's like a paint along, but I'm there with you painting along the whole way. And so we stop, and it's a Zoom. And I may after this, and this is my first 3-day Zoom. I've done Zoom for like hours and a day type of thing, but I've never done it for a full day. And it's actually 5 hours about with the lunch in between. But we're gonna maybe do some of those from this point on, because I think it's working out pretty okay. I'll get a little idea of how the students thought about it at the end, so we'll see, and what we can do with cameras and stuff like that. Anyways, so let's see who's online today. And actually, let's go back here, and I'm going to show you what we're drinking tonight. And so here we have Everett. Everett is in my class, and so hey, Everett, it's nice to see you tonight too. We got Lynn. Yes, I will sleep really good tonight. Lynn, we got Tina, Marianne, we got Debbie. Let's see, Tom. Put my glasses on, huh? That way I can read it. It's been a long day. Like I said, it's been 2 painting. Let me just show you really quickly what we've been painting today. And so we did this in the afternoon. We also did this. Where is this? Oh, upside down. We did this in the morning. And so that was all about creating a good wash and soften hard edges. And so the beer tonight, it's not even a beer. I just picked something up. I didn't know what it was, and it's vodka and soda. Watermelon. You know, I thought it was a beer. I just, you know, I go through the thing, and they sell them individually, and so I just grab a bunch of them. I didn't realize this wasn't a beer, but we're gonna see what this tastes like. It looks like water. I think it's a sparkling water, so we'll see what this is. It's white, nothing in there. We'll see how this tastes. So watermelon made with real juice and vodka. So at the end of this, I'll be sleeping. So wake me up when we hit the end. So cheers, everybody. Cheers, cheers, cheers. Okay, it's not a beer. It's definitely not a beer. I'm gonna give that about a 9 for not being a beer. All right, so here we go. Let's go into our tabletop and get going here. And so here's a scene, and you can tell I put a little plant. I didn't put the plant that I had shown you in the other Photoshop thing I did. And here's the guy. I put the guy in. Now the line drawing is really, really dark. And so I taught today that when you want to take down the graphite on there so it doesn't get into the light washes, you take a kneaded rubber eraser, roll it in your hands like this, like a rolling pin, and then just roll over it to get off the graphite. But still keep the line, you'll still keep the line there, but it's just going to get rid of the over excessive graphite that's on it. When you're using a soft pencil, a lot of times you don't want to use a hard pencil because it'll carve into the paper, but using a soft pencil a lot of times will give you too much graphite. So it's going to get on your hand, it's going to get on the kneaded rubber eraser, but that's why they call it kneaded, because you stretch it and you just make it clean again. See, you just clean it up again. So that's how you clean up your kneaded rubber eraser. And it's a little trick I was taught by somebody at the agency I worked at when I was doing storyboards, but we did it for, not for watercolors, but it works just as well in watercolors. All right, who else we got here? Tom, Lori, Renee, Monica, Patty, Tom. Thanks for coming by, guys. Tabasum, is that the name? Tabasum Inman. Thanks for stopping by, guys. And so here we go. We're gonna go light to dark, and as you can see in the value study, there it's like the shadows are part of the dark, even though they're middle tone. But I'm gonna make them more middle tone dark, and then instead of middle tone light. Because again, I always go. Let's go back to the value study real quickly. So if you look right here, remember I said that these values right here are the middle tone darks. That I want to put them into the dark thing so that they are going to be darker than anything in the light area, and that way they'll punch up the shadow a little bit. And again, they don't have to be this dark, but they do have to be part of the dark, because when I squint my eyes, then this area and where the guy is going to be a center of interest right here, and he's not going to be quite as dark as is in the photograph. Like, well, yeah, actually he's not even that dark. It's going to actually be darker than what's in the photograph. And I'm not going to give him a white top like he has. I'm probably going to give him a little some kind of color, just so that he stands out. All right, so let's get going here. And since this background is not like, I don't need it to be too soft edged, it's buildings, so I don't have to go there. And the sky, it could be blue, but I think it'll take away from the blue of the tarps that they put up here. And the tarps will reflect blue into that, so I'll put a little bit of blue in there, but I'm not gonna wash the whole thing this time because I don't need to. I don't need to get a soft edge throughout the entire painting, so I'll sit there and I'll do like I'll just do the sky a little bit, and I'm gonna go right into the. Should I put the blue in right away? No, I shouldn't. And now I made it wet. Oh well. So let's just wet this area then, and then I can come back with the darker part. I'm just gonna go into these areas. And so I'm going to put a little bit of dark, and actually since this afternoon I cleaned my palette because it was kind of filthy and I was running out of a lot of colors, and so I had to place in a few more colors in there for tomorrow and Saturday for our workshop. And so we're going to go in here. I'm just going to put a little bit of blue in there, not really dark blue like the Greek island skies usually are. There's enough blue going to be in the shadows and stuff that I don't need to make this as dark a blue as I normally would for a Greek island sky. A lot of times, for some reason, they just seem so blue. And so back here, and it's kind of weird because the background is kind of warm. And do I want to do it that way? I could, but I'm going to, yeah, I will do it that way because I can make the foreground shadows cool, and I can make the background warm. So we're just going to do that this time. Normally you don't do that, you know, you keep it, and so I'm using a brilliant orange. And the orange I'm just going to kind of put back here, like a little scuffly, you know, scuffly meaning it's on dry paper, so I get a little bit of texture in the bricks. And this is kind of a light, it's not, you know, it's a light value there, so I'm just putting a little bit of that color in there, very light again, because they're basically white buildings, but I'm going to put a little bit of texture in them because they are in the sun. And actually, that is it is probably in the shadow, but it's hitting a lot of light from the bouncing back into it. That's okay. We're just gonna put that in there with a little bit lighter colors, and then it's a little bit of floating pigment, but more so that you're scumbling and getting texture and keeping it light. I can put a little bit, let's see, I mean, you put a little red in there. So this is more of a tint. It's not really thick like I normally do. I do it nice and thick and let things float. So this time I'm not doing that. I'm doing more of a tint. And a tint is a lot of water, less pigment. And also, what I want to explain to you today too is that by having this person in there, it'll just, you just can't put them in afterwards, like as an afterthought. I was just told by my instructor, mentor, that never just afterwards, like if you did it without the person in the beginning and then all of a sudden you decide, it would have been nice to have a person in there. Don't do it as an afterthought. You kind of need to have it right now so that I know where to set him, where to put him in the sun. I'm going to put him in the sun so it's like coming down on his shoulder. I'm just going to put a little bit of light on the top there. Maybe a little there. Again, I'm just pulling in all the light areas. I'm figuring out the colors, and basically it's going to be blue and orange. I mean, you have this big blue tarp there, so of course it's going to be blue. And then I'm going to take all these other colors. And then the blue can also have a little bit of violet in there. Now I ran out of lavender, and I know it's sitting on a ship there in the ocean. I hope I don't think he has a couple of those. I haven't been able to order the lavender, so I make my own lavender with permanent violet. Take permanent violet and add white to it. You get yourself a nice lavender. So you don't actually need lavender. You can just add white to a permanent violet if you don't have lavender. And so I'll take a little bit of that and put a little bit of blue in there. I'll take a little bit of the blue. A lot of colors I was talking about today in the class is that you don't always need to have the exact color. You can mix a lot of those colors, those fancy colors, and the colors that are more pastel-like. You can mix white with them. And so here I'm going to put in a little bit of the warmth. I'm making the background warm and the foreground cool. You usually do that with scenes like winter scenes where you have the shadows on white. Because it's a white building, you can make it somewhat blue, the shadows, and a little bit of violet. And I'm working my lights now. We always work light to dark, right? Work the lights first. Get some of these shadows in there. And then, see, I'm not going to throw the shadows out over the top of this, so I'm first getting the color that's going to be underneath it. And so I'm going to go with like I said, a warm color from the background. So pick up a little of this orange, maybe a little bit of this red. And then just kind of scumble it. And if I take and make a texture, I use the side of my brush, and I kind of take it across the paper, dry paper. And so I'm picking up the texture of the paper. And because it's a rough paper, it's cold press, so it's a little bit rougher. It's not rough paper. It's called cold press, and that is rough enough, though. I'm going to get over here. Maybe the street has a little bit of roughness to it. Definitely different from how I normally start out, because I normally start out with a lot of soft edges, but we don't need soft edges in this one as much. It's a building. Inside these shadows, we'll be doing a lot of soft edges, and we're going to be doing a lot of floating of pigment. But for right now, we just need texture in the light areas. Any questions? Get online class today. Great online class today, David. Looking forward to tomorrow. Oh, thanks, Maria. Yeah, you guys did great. Absolutely great job for the people that have been taking the workshop online. It's with the Red River Watercolor Society from Fargo, North Dakota, and they're putting it on. And so probably after this, I may think about, if it works out okay, I may start doing some of my own workshops that are online. And this is basically the first long one, the 3-day one, and just want to see how it works. And just I did one class before that I did a test on and stuff, but this will be a good test to see if it really works well and if people like it. And it's kind of nice because anybody around the world can take it. As long as you have internet access, you can take the class. And if you have the same, the products and stuff and the paints and stuff, that doesn't really matter so much. Don't worry. You don't need to use the exact same thing I do. And that all works out fine. So there you go. You have the lights in the background, kind of scumbled, and here I'm going to scumble a little bit of this in there, because now I'm going to go, because there's no more lights left, and even inside these dark areas, I'm just going to make those dark right away. Maybe I'll start out with the lighter colors on here. There's a light, kind of a warm, kind of yellowish orange with a little bit of violet in it. So look, it's already on my palette. And you notice how I always tap on my towel. This towel, I had to put a new one on this afternoon because this towel got really, it gets really dirty. But you just throw it into the washer with some, I usually will use white. Put it in with a little bleach and you're good to go again. It's going to be staining a little bit, but that doesn't matter. So you're just using it. Go to Goodwill, get yourself some towels and put a little bit of... Now, even though there's a cool foreground, I'm still going to make my center of interest area warm. The light parts. I will be critiquing the work that is in the workshop, yes. And actually, if you do these and you send it on my BeckerArt, I can critique it. If you ask me to critique it at my BeckerArt group on Facebook, I will. And actually, a lot of people will critique it for you. If you have a question about certain things, we critique it for you online on Facebook on my BeckerArt group. So if you need to have a critique of your work, go there. Everybody's willing to state their mind and what they feel about the painting. So there's my lights, my light blue, my light warm colors, and it's just enough light. And then I'll go in with my darks. And I'm just kind of stalling here, so I'll be doing the darks, the really big darks areas. And as you see, every time I do a demo, even a paint along, it starts that way. It always starts from light to dark, the biggest areas. And then once you established your lights and the colors scheme, now I can go into my darks. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with the tarp right there. I won't use this big, well, I can use the big brush. So let's start with there. And the main problem a lot of students have, and not if they take my workshop, because we build that up in the first day, is that you use enough paint. You need to use a lot of paint to control that in a wet wash, in a wet wash. Now here is not the edges are hard because the paper is dry now. It's going to go in here and then just start out with any color blue, and then I'll wet it as I go along here, and then I'll add color into that blue, or different color blues and maybe some purples, and getting that shine that I want to get. Darker over here. And then a vibrant blue. It looks like it's a pretty vibrant blue. I'm looking from the side here. And I'll make it look like it's like the sun shining through at one part. And so you see how I dipped off some of the water, because I don't need the water as much if I know it's already wet. Hey Maura. Hey Karen. Hey Patty. Hey Maria. Do you have a max colors to a painting before it gets too much color? No, not really. I kind of start it and then I stick with those colors. Like, I don't want to bring in a color halfway through and feel like, all of a sudden, like let's say I want to put a color here that wouldn't, like a vibrant, I said this afternoon too, is like a vibrant green or something, like a green that wouldn't match these blues and orange, so I'm using those colors right now. But if I all of a sudden put a color that doesn't make any sense, no, I don't do that. I kind of keep to the picture a little bit of the colors, but you don't have to totally do that. And so now I see that this part's light and this part is dark, and here I had a little bit wet, so you see there's a little bit of soft edge right there, but that's okay. It's actually good to have a few soft edges in your work. So here I'm going to take a little bit of darker blue, and I'm just going to make that shadow that comes across here. See how I'm just going to make that right into there. It's going to be a soft edge, but you have to know how to control that edge right there. And how to do that is by adding a lot of pigment. And that's what we learned today, is adding a lot of pigment to control your edges. You have to control your edges in a wet wash so that you can do things like that. And make it soft edged. And actually, let's go all the way across here. So that'll look like a shadow inside there. And so there's the tarp. Maybe put a little dark right there. Now that blue doesn't have to be exactly the same as you see there. And now I'm going to take that color and let it blend into this area, because I'm going to do the shadows now. The shadows are coming from, actually there's like this little air conditioning unit or something over here. And so I'm going to put that in there first. A couple little darks. Light to dark. And actually I probably should do the background stuff, but that's just detail. There are a couple windows, so I can maybe put those in a warm color. And you can take orange and gray it down with a purple, and you'll get like a gray or beige. And just going to do that real quick. There is a little rooftop here that's going to be warm, and I guess that's tile. I would say that's like a tile roof, and Greek islands. I think they have those tiled roofs. And so I put that there. This is a little bit of greenery, so I can put a little bit of green in there. So I'll use this turquoise blue, a little bit of quinacridone gold. Make it a little bit, not vibrant green. I don't want it like super vibrant. Just gonna kind of tap that in here. Some of this green's back here. In the sun, you could put a little bit of yellow, you know, to make it look yellowish green. This little plant back there. I kind of toned this down a little bit. I don't want this colors back there bright. I want them to stay back, so I'm pushing them back a little bit. And then to get this color back here, there is a shadow that's against this building that's very light. And so I'm just going to take it like this. And it's more of a tint. There's a lot of tints on this painting right now. And it looks like the light's coming from above, it's going straight down, so you're getting a lot of like little shadows coming across the plane of the front of the building. And up here too. Again, use a little bit of lights. I'm saving my darks for this big shadow and for the person and the doors right here. So that way you'll look at that spot, because that'll be the lightest light, darkest dark, and that's what you want in your center of interest. And so I'm still working from the back to front, and so here I notice this is all dark, and the side of this thing barely hits this guy's arm. So I'll go in a little bit and then take this shadow here. And I put any color down first for the shadow, and then I add color into it that's around that area. I always do that. I always put down, it doesn't matter what color you start out with. Hey Carol, yeah, it's ugly. Can you hear the raindrops on my roof? I can almost hear them. It's raining pretty hard here. Kind of an ugly day, but perfect day to be inside and taking a workshop. So it's been fun, and I didn't have to go outside because it was nice and rainy out there, and so it's good to be inside when it's raining outside. So now I'm putting a little bit of blue and purples and a little warmth. Remember I said these shadows back there could be a little bit warmer. So I'll throw a little orange in those shadows back there. So again, that background is warmer. And as it comes forward, I'm going to get darker with the shadow, and I'm going to get cooler. Make it cooler, and I'm taking it across here. I'm just looking at what the shadow is. You know, it can be a hard edge. That's okay to have a hard edge. I'll go across this little step here. I put a step there. I also noticed I brought in the building a little bit because it was too lined up. So if I put a mat on this and I go a ½ inch, quarter inch in, suddenly you get it so that it's like there's no wall there, and that's not a good thing. So always remember that when somebody mats this, is probably going to be going about a quarter of an inch with the mat over this, or right on the edge. So I added a little bit more of that building so you can actually see it a little more. So now I'm going across here, and I'm going to wet it first. And not even with the color, or just some blues, and I have to put a little bit more color in my brush. And I'll just do the street first, and then I'll do the wall after that. So now it's wet, and now I've got the hard edges on the sides, but here in the actual shadow part, I can go nice and dark, maybe a little bit of lavender in there. You know, it's pretty dark there, see, and you can just really. And if you feel it's too much blue and too vibrant a blue, tone it down with orange. Its complement. Tone it down with its complement. And see, I'm making this a nice dark shadow. Nice dark shadow. Wet into wet. Wet into wet, and you can move the pigment around how you like. If it's wet, it's all about how much pigment you put in there. Now it's going to dry 20% lighter, so don't be afraid of putting a little bit more pigment in there in your wash. And so you can just put it in there, and knowing that it's going to dry 20% lighter, you can make it look 20% darker. And here there's like a little bit of a little light shining through there. Maybe a little bit darker again, putting a little bit of warmth. But with warmth on this part, it doesn't matter, because what's happening is there's so much blue that a little bit of warmth goes and just dulls it down a little bit. It doesn't make it orange or warm, it just dulls down the color. Where down back here, I actually changed the color from blue to orange, because that is basically more orange, and there was a tint of blue. Here, there's a lot of blue in here, and so if I put a tint of orange in there, it's not going to do anything except tone it down a little bit. So a little of this. Now that's almost too blue. That's very blue. So again, a little bit more orange. I'm just going to stick in here. dull it down a little bit. It all depends also what these are going to be later on. I'm going to bring them up. The shadow's going to bring them up here. And then they're going to go, and maybe I can even make these warmer over here and go up the side of this building a little bit. Still keep that stoop right there lit up a little bit. Like I said, the orange is not going to totally mess with the blue. It'll just be a little bit of that. It's all about how you're floating pigment and floating pigment into the washes and getting the value on. I'm going to just right away, I have this color in my brush. I'm going to right away put it on the guy because he'll have, and I use a little cane. I'll put that there. And so getting it as much done as I can with that one wash. And then I'm going to take a little bit of this and just wisp it downwards. And I'm doing it fast on a flat surface, so I'm getting texture a little bit. And then I'll put a little bit of this blue from the tarp into the wall because it's going to reflect in there into the shadow. It's definitely going to reflect into the shadow. Make a nice straight edge here because this is the building, and we can put a door in there later. Up here, there's a little bit of stuff going on. I'm not sure what's going on up there. Just a little bit of garbage up there. All right, and so that's the shadow side. And this is bending outwards. I don't like that, so I'm going to go straight and try to straighten this out. This line here a little bit. All right, so there we got the shadow going this way. We got a little bit of little lines in there. This looks a little bit too harsh a change of value, so I'm going to pull that out a little bit. Just pull a little bit of paint out. All right, so now we got these big shadows. Big shadows. Any questions? Nope. All right, we'll keep on going. So that's all pretty much dry now, so we can go and get our shadowing. And remember what we looked at in the value study, so let's look again. I need to get these darks, not quite that dark, but I need them to look like there's anything that here is darker than in the light area. So I have to go, this is the light area, so that shadow is, or this, everything back here, like the roof and stuff is in my light area. So I want to make sure that nothing in there is as light as in my light area. I'm just going to make it darker. I don't have to go this dark, but I have to make it light. I mean, I have to make it dark enough to not be like the light area. And so we'll start out maybe with my big brush. I didn't even sketch in the shadows because if you sketch in the shadows, you'll get a hard edge line. And so if you are going to sketch them in, you got to make sure that they're very, very light pencil lines. So you can erase them because you don't want the shadow lines looking like they're outlined with another, with dark line. So I'm going to take any color right now, just a dirty blue that I have in my brush. I'm going to come down here. It looks like it comes straight down or on an angle here. I mean, from these tarps. The tarps goes right to this point where the tarp is. Does it go across this door? It's all the way across the edge of this door. So I'm wetting it on the edge of this door. And then it goes down. It shows a little opening right here. I'm not going to do the door. I'm going right through the door, so that's going to be darker later. So I can just go right through that. And then it stops on this edge because the edge of the building is right here. And then we're going to just wet that. Then the bottom of this thing right here, and while this is wet still, I'm going to pour a little bit of this blue into the shadow so it looks like it's reflecting from the top there. Then I can go down and put a little purple. I'll make my own lavender again and lilac. This is lilac in there too. So I'll put a little lilac and lavender into the shadow. Then here, this is a couple of shadows here. It could be a little bit darker, I think, because it's going to dry lighter. Always remember, it dries lighter. And then we're going to go across here. We have a lot of little lines going through there. Right through the doors again, because why? Because they're going to be darker. And it comes down and it just kind of covers up a lot of this area of dark. And right here on top, right, a little bit more of that blue. Taking a little bit in there, a little more of that blue. Let it all float. It's going to soften itself. Don't worry about the things having to soften, like rubbing it to soften the edge. No, you don't have to do that. I'm going to take my smaller brush because I'm doing smaller shadows. From this window, there's some shadow right there. That's a little bit too dark, but we're just going to put more water, blend it down, and that goes all the way down to the guy. So that's a little bit too, for back there, Actually, it's okay back there because it's a little bit warmer shadow, so that's good. Gonna bring it down here a little bit. Here, we'll throw some shadows up there also, it looks like. There's something up here, I'm not sure what it is, so I'm just gonna do a little this and that. Here's little lines from the wires. We're gonna do shadows from the wires later on too. Put a little color into this shadow. Behind the plant would be a shadow. And then this whole side here, we gotta shadow it up. 7 o'clock, still half hour left. All right, we got plenty of time. So here we're going to start out with a little bit more warmth on top here because it is the foreground. I can put a little bit more warmth right here, a little orange, and it looks a little bit more dirty, orangey yellow up here. So I'm just going to throw a little bit of that in there. And then it goes down a little bit lighter with a violet. Again, I'll take a little bit of my violet. Make a little bit of violet blue. I like to keep it like that, you know, just not specific colors, just violet or blue or not, you know, you just, as long as you get it close to a certain color of that, you know, blue, that's fine. And a little bit of warmth. It can be anything that makes it warm, that there's a warm color. And now I'm just going to take this and bring it down. I did put a little awning over this, thinking that maybe I need something to stop your eye from going off the page here. It's not necessary now I look at it, but I'm going to go over this and maybe I'll put a blue awning to put a little bit more blue over there. We'll see when we get to that point. I'm just going to take it down now and just get the... It connects, you know, lighter up here, and as it goes down, it connects with this and leaves a little bit of a space of light because that's the light. See, it's hitting right there. And then I make that wet, and then I'm going to throw some color in there. It looks like it goes from a dark to a light. It's a little bit of red with the blue, and then dull it down with a little bit of orange, and I'm just going to take it and wash it up. The street is already dry, so I'm just going to let that go up a little bit so it's like dirty, a little bit dirtier on the bottom. And so there we have our basically our washes of shadow colors. Here this railing is going to be darker with dark railing, so I can just put the color behind it. I can just go back there and put that right away, right over it, because it's going to be darker, the railing. Here. I don't have my darkest darks yet. See, that's the nice thing, is I'm going to put them in a little bit, but right now I don't need them right now. And normally you put in the eaves of things, you put a little orange, but because this is all blue reflecting through there, I'm not going to put orange there because the blue is reflecting into that shadow from the actual awning there. Like a lot of times, like right here, I put a little orange in the eaves of things. Like in this area up here, you could put a little bit of orange. That looks kind of nice to put into the eaves, a little bit of orange. And not so dark. Again, this is a light area up here. All right, so that's my big areas of my shadows, my darks. And now we're going to get our tiny darks. Tiny darks. Little darks, you know, the little ones that make the objects. And so I will start, I guess I'll start with... the background, get all those done, get all the little things, because I don't want to make them as dark as the foreground ones. So starting out back there, I can regulate it, so don't make it quite as dark. And then like there's a window back here, looks like, and so I'll just make that a little bit darker, not super dark, because again, I don't want this to be contrasty back there. I just want it to be enough contrast so that you notice a window. And here's a lamp, it looks like. Little things happening there. You can make it even, and again, I can make them warm, so I'll put a little orange into that dark. And then here's a lamp, another lamp somehow back here. Window. Door. And I'll put a little bit of blue in there just to float inside the dark. And it could be both, it could be light and dark. I mean, that it could be warm and cool, not light and dark. And so I'll take my rigger brush, because there are a few details back there I can't get with that big brush. So here's a lamp right here. And I'm not going to make that super dark. Hey, Ann, coming in late, that's fine. Anytime is good. No problems. Unless I'm having problems and you can find them out, that's a good thing. So if you see anything I'm doing wrong, please let me know. Or things that you think can help it make it even better. I'm always up for that. So I'm going to put these little details. Again, I'm putting my darker details in, but not my super, super dark ones yet. I'm saving for my center of interest. And that way it glows. The painting will glow that way. And then the darks are my center of interest, and it'll just look super fantastic because you put all the other things are going to be lighter, and then that one dark in the front will just make your eye come right to that guy. Here is just a little bit of details, but not much contrast. I don't want contrast. I'm looking for just light values and details to show what things are, kind of. It's something I can't tell what they are. I figure they're some kind of a thing attached to the wall, but what they are, I'm not quite sure. So that doesn't really matter, though. You just go in there, and as long as it looks like something, that's fine. And here there's two walls right here. I'm just making a real light little, making it look like that wall is back farther. Then maybe a shadow underneath this, underneath the awning here. Getting a little texture. Maybe a little bit of rough up the edge right here. Again, this is done very lightly so that it doesn't jump out at you. We don't need it jumping out yet. Here's other kind of junk back there. I'm not sure what it is. Again, I'm just making up things. Like here's a window, and so that's going to be darker here on the guy. And I have a bigger picture of it. Let me just open this up real quick. 1 second. I want to see what that is there. So see, you have all this stuff in here that's it looks like there's a window back here. There's also this air conditioning unit that's sitting on top. We got wires going through there. We got a little bit of dirt underneath the window. We got a little line coming down that way. Okay, so that way you can see what I'm going to put in there. So I just wanted to see where that was at. All right, so I can put a little bit of that darker and darker as I come forward. This air conditioning unit, we can make a little bit darker now because you know it's a little bit darker. It's in getting close to my center of interest area. And got that wire that goes all the way through back here, goes up. And those wires are really kind of important because there's nothing else around. So to make these little wires and stuff, it's really good idea to make them, you know, put them in. And they're in the picture, so I might as well put them in here. Using my small brush to get some of the detail. And you notice I haven't done a dark yet, a super dark. I'm saving it. I'm saving. You watch how this is just gonna pop out. It's like you're just waiting for the for the surprise. You know, it's gonna make everything look oh so nice. And again, paintings don't look nice until you get to this part. You know, they shouldn't. My teacher always said they have to go through the uglies first, the ugly stage where you're building up the foundation for those darks. And so this guy's pants are going to be really nice and dark. And so I'm going to go with a purple. Not that he's not going to have purple pants. We're going to make him maybe brown. So purple and orange make it kind of a nice brown. Maybe a little bit of yellow in there. And so we're going to make him pretty dark. And it's kind of a brown. Almost like a burnt sienna. Not burnt sienna, burnt umber. And I'll take my smaller brush to get it on this side. And a little bit lighter because this leg is back. A little darker on the side away from the sun. On this side. See how that just pops now? I mean, doesn't that pop? It's gonna make the light look even brighter once you get these nice darks in there. It's just so much fun to keep it. I know you want to put in darks, but just save it. It's gonna look so great. You watch. So here I'm gonna put on this little potted plant right here. Same thing. Maybe I'll put a little bit of like a rustic terracotta in there, terracotta pot. This door is pretty dark, and I'm going to use a dark blue. I put out a lot of fresh pigment, and now I'm picking up huge amounts of fresh pigment, which is good. I always tell my class today that it's all about how much pigment you pick up. You gotta pick up enough pigment to let things stay there and float and show what watercolor can do. And that's making sure that you get enough pigment to make it look like what you want it to look like. That's the technique of watercolor, is picking out enough pigment and letting it do its own thing. So there's a nice dark. I'm gonna put a little bit of orange in there just to float it afterwards. See, it's dark right now, but you can also float things in there. You don't have to stick with one color. I can even put yellow, green, whatever I want in there. I'm just gonna put a few things in there to touch up a little bit of the orange in there. And so then this side of this screen right here, or this little indentation in the wall, is not quite as dark as the door, so I'm gonna put that in there first. Just put a little bit in there, and there's a little bit of dark underneath here, dark behind the base. There's a little bit dark from this plant. The plant itself maybe has a stalk that's dark, and then maybe there's some flowers, some orange flowers in here, just to give it a little color right there. And then some darks in there on the edge of the back of it. Maybe some greenery. And actually I'm going to use blue for my green because it'll match. You know, it'll match. It'll look green only because it's turquoise kind of color, and it'll match other blues in there. So it'll just have that great look of almost looking like it's green, but you know that you can make it blue because we've got blue all around. So here we're going to make a nice dark door also, even though it's not there, but I need to have a little bit on both sides here. Not going to make it quite as dark. And then again, a few darks here, back of the stoop. Maybe there's a couple lines in the street, there's texture. Here we have the side of the stoop here, stoop itself. This door over here, I'm going to do a dark over it first, and then I'm going to do it even darker with inside there. So we'll do the door with a little bit darker, slightly darker. Do I want to put an awning on there? Oh shoot, now I have it drawn. I'm going to have to put an awning in there. Oh, what the heck, let's put a blue awning on it. I decided to put it in just, I'm not sure why, I just thought it needed something there. Sometimes you just, you know, when you're painting, you're just feeling what can I do to make it better, and that's just, I thought putting a thing there will make it look better. Got a bunch of lines here. Here we got, I'm not sure that we got, what is that? That is a, like little boxes or things in the wall here. It's like a little rectangle. I'm not sure what these things are, but I'm just gonna put in whatever. It doesn't really matter. Here there's a little pipe that goes down around, and it kind of goes this way. Now this door again is really dark. Let me see, any questions? Maybe this arm makes it look wait, is the building a little slanted? Which building? This one, slanted inwards. That's a shadow. That's going to be the shadow on there makes it look a little slanted, I guess. But it's basically one building, and this building is pretty straight. So that's just a shadow. So hopefully it won't make the building look too slanted. Oh, this building back there? Are you talking about? Yeah, it comes out. Maybe what I can do is I can make this a little dark right there, and now it's straight. And there we go. And so we haven't done him yet. And what should I do for his blue? No. I'm going to make the top of his shoulders should always be light because that's what hits the top. And so I'm going to give him a nice dark hat. Of course, a nice dark hat. Here, there's another, and there's some kind of sign on the side of the wall here. Here, there's something there. A bit of, and actually, I could leave. Let's see, what would make a good color for him? Orange, kind of an orangey coat, brownish orangey coat. Make it dark here in the back. A little light on the top. Maybe not so orangey, maybe more of a tan color. Leaving the top of his shoulders, leaving that nice and light. And then his hair will be dark, so I'm just going to put a nice dark there. Then usually his collar, we can do the collar. Would the wet window be darker? Transom window? I gotta put my glasses on so I can see what you guys are saying. Alright, should the Oriole transom window be darker? Which one is that? Transom window. This thing in here? This one up here? This one? I fixed it? Okay, thanks. Now let's go into this next door. It's gonna be really dark. So I'm putting in just a nice dark, 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 and I'm going to put everything in there. All my colors, I'm just going to float in there, keeping it hard-edged. See, nice and dark. A little bit of orange floating on the top, so it looks like it's a little bit warmer on the top. And through here. And you got his hand. Oopsie. A little bit of orange for his hand, and we've got a little walking cane, and on the top of here I'm going to make this a soft edge. I don't need it to be a hard edge. At the top of his shoulders can be soft. It is light to dark usually. When that dries, I'll put some of the ridging on for the coat to show the wrinkles, not wrinkles, the folds in the coat itself. Put a little bit of warmth in there too. Okay. Now the door, or first let's go up here. Get a real nice dark for the brown for the railing up here. Go like this. How much time do we have left here? Oh, we got plenty of time. So we're gonna put that across, nice and even. And again, how fast you go doesn't matter. It's about how clean you can make the lines. I usually like doing lines like I'm writing. So I take the picture sideways, and it's easier for me to go straight like this than it is bringing it down. That got kind of thick, that one, but that's okay. That's the corner one, so you can just look, there's double there. I'm just going to make these lines as, you know, if you want to be so tight that you're using a ruler, you can do that. You can put a ruler up and you just take your brush across it, but not on this one. Don't need it that tight or that perfect. There's a little bit of dark and stuff throughout the parts, because there's parts that are dirty, and actually there's like a bluish green shutter inside this window, so we can do that. It's inside the window, like the shutter is in there. I'm going to put that on the inside. Here I'm going to put a couple little things going back there to kind of show that something happening behind there. Here we can put a little bit more orange underneath. Here we have a little bit of, there's a bunch of pipes going all over the place, so I'm just going to start putting lines in here. There's a pipe there, there's a little pipe right there, and then of course the pipe has shadow underneath it because it's sticking out a little bit. You rough it up a little bit to make it look dirty. And these buildings are not clean. Look at that, this building is really dirty right here. So I'm going to take a brush over it. Watch this. There, a little bit dirty. I dirtied it up a little bit. Unless you want to make it nice and clean, you can do that too. But I kind of like to make it look like a real building. It's not. They didn't paint it yet, and it looks a little bit more realistic if you have a little bit of dirt on there, a little bit of texture. And these buildings, some of them are older, and so they're going to have a little bit of stuff like that.
That's the great thing about these kind of buildings. You can, there's so much stuff going on. You can just put this in, but really lightly. You don't want to have too much contrast. Now I'm going to put a lot of contrast in here for this door, and I'm going to do it with these rectangle brush because that door, see how it has like a dark window in it? There's a dark window in it, so I'm just going to take a really dark color. I think it's brown again. Make it a little bit with the orange. What other color should I put? A little blue to dull it down a little bit. Really dark though, and I can take a little black too to darken it. And so what it looks like is like you have these lines going down, and I'm using my finger, see on the edge, to control my, so I'm not being too loose with it. I can go pretty tight with holding my, oh there, got a little bit of an angle, but here comes again, goes down halfway, stops. It's almost like doing bricks, but some parts you can do this tight. It's okay to do some parts tight and halfway. This one go halfway to this part and then down from there. Make it nice and dark and red. Almost seems like there should be something besides. See, there it looks like the side of the building too. So maybe I'm gonna straighten this out because it actually does go straight down here. I'll put a little line here just to kind of watch this. Okay, then it goes straight down, and then I'm gonna mess it up. I'm gonna take it like this and do this side, and I'm just gonna go quickly across it to kind of give it a dark right there. Straight out that building a little bit. There we go. Straighten it out a little bit so that building doesn't look, the shadow is making the building look like it's crooked also. Alright, so now the guy will have his texture on his clothes. Let's put a little bit, you know, I'm going to put a couple lines in the street. We could also make the street look like it's not cobblestone. There is a little thing right here that's dark that looks like a little drain or something, so, or cover here, and you could put a little tile in there too, here and there. But let's see here, a little dark right here. And now for him to put the, I'm gonna close it. I'm gonna get a little close on him. Let me just open this up again to look how. See, he has these dark lines in there, and these dark, oh wait, it's behind. What is it doing behind there? So see these little lines on the edge of his coat, the lines underneath his arm, and down here is a little bit darker, so you can make that, and that'll make it look like the folds are right. And the bottom here it gets really dark. I could even give him a dog, but I got to a point where I was always putting dogs in everything, and especially at the plein air event, I was putting dogs in everywhere, and couples and dogs all the time. I was just putting that in there just to put them in. So I'm not going to do that this time. We're just going to do what we set out to do in the beginning here. Put a guy, and that's it. Now I'll do the darks right here by his arm, and I'm looking what's there, actually there, and so I'm copying what I see in the photograph, the folds, and that's fine to put in there because they are there. And I will soften some of them. And this side also. I'll take and soften it with my finger a little bit. And looks like there's a really dark on this side. And then on this side we have a nice line right where it goes down here. And another line that goes here. And you really cheered up a depressing picture. Oh, thanks. We try to make it look happy and nice and friendly, and make it look like there's some, you want to have, I mean, there's some of these buildings were pretty dirty, and you can always make it easier, make it nicer. And I'm going to float a little bit of opaques in here, just to, and with a little band on his head, a blue band. And there we go. A lot of artists do that where they'll put a little bit more opaque, and they'll just put a little of that color elsewhere, so it kind of stands out other places. A little bit more dark up here. A little dark right there. Okay, I think we're pretty close. Actually, I'm gonna look at this little window. That's a circle. Oh, there's a little window above this door. A little window circle. I didn't even notice that. There we go. A couple lines in here for the awning. I think these have to be a little bit darker, so I'm gonna go with black. And there's a couple of these in the front here. Alright, I think we're good. Reminder, you wanted wrinkles, ridges, in the man's coat. Oh, I got to them. I did, right, didn't I? There we go. I was just going to ask you, Tina. I was just going to ask Tina. What else do I have to left, Tina? I think that's about it. Let me see from a distance. Oh, I got it right. Sorry, you guys got to tell me if this isn't a way. All right, so there we go. I think... Let me look at the picture to see how that looks. And I always look at it from the view of the camera, smaller. And actually, I think this little awning... Oh, the wires across everything. That's very important. Remember I said it's very important to put the wires in. But I'm going to do a little bit darker here. Hard-edged. So a little bit darker here. Hard-edged. And then... maybe in the middle here, there's a little line I see in the picture. And then on the side here, it's like it's held up by something a little bit darker. And what else we have? I think that's about it, right, guys? And so, except for the wires. So with that, we're going to take the rigger brush. I'm going to stand up because I need to stand up and get in there and look to where the wires are. And I'm going to... There's that one right there. Those are pencil lines, and so I'm just going to take a nice fluid line, and this is a one-shot deal. Don't, you know, and if you need to practice it, take a sheet of paper and take an extra sheet of paper, and then just see how you can do, like, how much paint you need in there, how wet does it have to be, to just do that and be done with it. Don't go try to stop and do it slowly, because you're never going to make it. See how you can't make it even. So it's a nice stroke. You go through. It can be broken up like that. That's not a bad idea to break it up, and then, but just it's got to be one brush stroke for those lines. And I'll make them a little bit more of this reddish color. And so here we go. Well, first I got to put a couple darks in here, I think, and then one. And then sometimes don't put the pencil lines for the lines too dark, otherwise you're not going to hit it exactly on top of them. And so there's going to be a little, I put a little bit of wire back here. Going down. The wires always make them look cool. I don't know. And especially like you see some of the pictures from Cuba. I'm still dying to do a picture from Cuba. Find something with all the wires, and also, what was it? Where is that? Blank in my mind now where they have all these wires. Okay, that's about it. Okay, we're gonna take the tape off, and another day, 28. I have 2 more minutes left, so take 2 minutes to take this tape off. And I didn't drink any more of this. We're gonna see what this tastes like again. Wow, that's weird. It tastes like watermelon juice that has vodka in it. So I guess okay. Number 9. It's a good taste, but it's not definitely not a beer. And definitely, I would like to visit the street too. I did do a workshop in the Greek Islands on an unbelievably beautiful boat that we took with Dillman's. And so I think that once this COVID is over, or kind of getting out a little bit easier to travel, I think we're going to try to do that again and take a trip to the Greek islands. So that'd be kind of fun. So there you go, guys. Add something to your scenes if you feel they don't have a great center of interest. Let me just show you one thing before we leave. That's the one I did this afternoon or this morning. This one too could use something. This is kind of like a stage also. And I was thinking I'm probably going to put a tree right in here to give this. The rock is interesting, but it's not that interesting. So I think maybe even a tree with a person standing there. I usually don't want to put the people in again afterwards, but what you want to do is definitely have a nice stage with something as a center of interest. And this rock to me it's okay, but I've seen a couple other people did a nicer job with some of the trees back here. And so I'm going to make the trees back here stay a little bit more, giving it a little bit more of a center of interest again. A lot of things are stages, but you need to make it the actors on the stage. And that's how I always put it across to people. It's like, if you have a great stage, it's great, but put some actors on it, and it'll look much better. So until next Thursday, and next Thursday I'm going to be here still. Following Thursday, I will be in Raleigh, North Carolina with Jerry's Artorama at the booth for Legion's paper. But I will still be doing a paint along that night too, on that Thursday, just from my hotel room. All right, so until next Thursday, we'll see you guys later. All right, bye-bye. Also, let me read one more thing. There's a pipe coming down the door if you want to do details. A pipe? Okay, I'll do that afterwards. And should the left stoop be dulled? Left stoop, yep, that'll be dulled down. I'll dull that down. I like the colors of yours, softer and more. All right, guys, thanks for this, Aziza. I will take that stoop down, and I'll look for that thing in there. All right, so again, until next week. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.